What's up, GS students? Pastor Neil back again today to share with you guys some very exciting news. This Sunday, we're coming back to church. We're coming back. Guys, I've missed you so much. I've missed being able to spend time with you, to talk to you. Guys, we've missed you so much. And this Sunday, we are all coming back to church. But things will look a little different. We're coming back with 2 Sunday service times, one at 9 o'clock a.m. and one at 11 o'clock a.m. We encourage you guys to come and be a part of either one of those two. As far as our Wednesday night programs go in the Student Center, those will resume in June. That date will be announced a little bit later, but we look forward to seeing you guys and being with you again in that environment. But in the meantime, we'll be hosting several hangouts, several times where we can just get you guys together, where we can interact with you, where you can interact with each other, and we can gradually move in to our regular programs again. Guys, if you are excited about coming together again, drop us a like, drop us a comment below. Let us know that you're ready, that you're eager to get back together with us on Wednesday nights. If you're interested in those hangouts, like we mentioned before, same thing, comment below for more information. But with no further ado, let's get into tonight's lesson. Let's continue with another lesson in our series, Unstuck. If you have followed our series, we have had an incredible time confronting several of the giants that face our generation. If God has spoken to you through this series, drop a comment below. Drop us a personal message. Reach out to us and let us know what God is doing in your life. Unstuck is where we address the giants of our generation, and we come together to challenge and to navigate those giants and how we can become and how we can live unstuck. Tonight's giant is one that literally everyone either has faced, is facing, or will face at some point in the future. How do I know that, you ask? Well, it's easy. The Bible says so. In Luke chapter 17 and verse 1, Jesus is speaking, and he says, "It is impossible except that offenses will come, but woe to whom they come." Yeah, that's right. Tonight, we are talking about the giant of being offended. Jesus here is saying that it is impossible for us to go through our entire life and never be offended and never be ticked off and never be subject to hurt implied on us by others. Jesus is saying literally, there's no way out of it. This will happen. There's no one that is exempt from feeling this offense. No one is exempt from being offended. No one is exempt from being offended. No one knows what it's like to live their whole life and never be triggered and never be hurt by the words that someone else says and never be brought down by the feeling of inadequacy. It doesn't matter if you're a pastor's kid or if this is your first time with us. It doesn't matter if you're on the college path or if you're not. Offense will come. Someone is going to shame you. Someone is going to hurt you. Someone is going to insult you. Someone is going to humiliate you. Someone is going to offend you. There will be times where someone angers you. There will be times when somebody violates who you are, violates your preferences and your personal space. It is impossible to live this life and not be offended. This giant of offense plagues us. But just because he's there does not mean that he has got to stop us. If you'll notice, when a pilot is about to take off, when he's about to launch that airplane into the air, he doesn't go away from the resistance of the wind. He doesn't go away from the pressure that wind causes. But no. In order to get that plane launched, in order to get that plane to its potential, in order to get that plane to the highest point possible, it must start out on the ground, and it goes into the wind. It goes into the resistance. It goes into that thing that's pressing against it. And when it does, that resistance causes lift under its wings, propelling that plane to its highest point, propelling that plane to go higher than it otherwise could. Offense against you works the same way. Offense against you works the same way. Offense is not meant to be an obstacle. Rather, it is meant to be that wind underneath the wings of your life. That wind that lifts you up. That wind that takes you higher than you've ever been. That wind that leads you to your purpose. That wind that takes you and develops you and makes you into the man or the woman that God's plan for you is to be. Here's a fact for you. 41% of birds in New Zealand cannot fly. What do you mean birds that can't fly? You see, in New Zealand, birds don't have any predators. They don't have any opposition. They don't have anything coming against them, forcing them to take flight. They don't have any reason to flap their wings. They don't have any excuse to take flight. If you never had offense in your life, if you never encountered things that didn't go your way, if you never encountered stumbling blocks, you would be like that bird, stuck on the ground for the rest of your life. But when the wind blows, when pressure comes, you can open your wings like an eagle and allow that wind to lift you to your highest height possible. If we go back to 1 Samuel chapter 17, David, he did not become a giant slayer overnight. David proved himself when he was the shepherd of his father's flock. Whenever he was out there all alone with them, the Bible tells us that one day a bear came and tried to steal away one of his father's sheep. But what did David do? He arose against it and he slew that bear, conquering it before it could take out one of his sheep. But not only did a bear come, another day a lion comes out and he comes to take yet another one of David's sheep. And David, what does he do? He rises against that lion again and he slays it too. You see, before David could become that giant slayer, he had to first conquer the tests that were in front of him. You may be sitting at your house right now and you and your parents have been going back and forth in this time where we've all been quarantined. You feel like they haven't respected you and they feel like you haven't respected them. You guys have gone back and forth. You've bickered. You've complained. You've grumbled. You've lived with offense on you for the last several months. You wonder why you've been tested in this specific way. But let me tell you guys something. You might feel as though you have been tested, but God is looking at you and He is looking to work through this. But you see, just like David had to prove himself with the lion and with the bear, God is giving you a test right now that will develop you for what is to come. David could have been so offended at God and said, God, why did you allow this lion and this bear to come against me? David could have gotten mad at God and said, God, why on earth? What is the purpose of these things? But what he did not realize is what he had been through would soon validate what God would do. What David didn't realize is God was working through the bear and He was working through the lion to make David into a giant killer. You see, guys, God is working through those little situations in your life. God is looking through those little times of offense. God is looking through those little things to make you a man or woman of God. Some say you need a safe place to just go to and avoid the pain and the pressures of life. That some would say you just need a place to go to just to get away, just to be accepted for who you are and what you are and not feel any pressure. But you know what, friend? That's okay if you want to remain flightless. That's okay if you want to remain stuck in offense. Friend, if you want to reach your potential, I dare you to open your wings like the eagle. Turn towards the offense. Turn towards the pressure and take flight, and God will take you to the highest point possible. God will develop you and God will make you into the man or woman that He has created you to be. David knew a little something about what it meant to be offended. Not only did David's father not call him whenever Samuel came to anoint the next king, but he was called ruddy. He was devalued by his friends and his family. He wasn't thought of very highly. In the time leading up to his battle with Goliath, his father told him to take some supplies to his brothers who were staying on the front lines of battle. So what does David do? He wakes up early the next morning. He prepares the supplies. He saddles the horse, and he goes out to take his brother these supplies. But once David gets there, he sees Goliath as he has again come out to belittle the nation of God and the people of God. As David was there, he witnessed the blasphemy of Goliath. As he listened, he heard the cursing of Goliath. As he stood in the presence of all those soldiers, he felt the fear that they had when this giant opened his mouth. So what did David do? He began to inquire. He began to talk to some of the soldiers that were there about what was going on, about who this giant is, about what was going to happen to the person that eventually conquered them. You see, defeat was never an option for David. In 1 Samuel chapter 17 and verse 28, his brother, his beloved oldest brother, the one who's supposed to provide and protect David, he looks at him and he says, "Why did you come here? Who is watching those few sheep for you in the wilderness? I know how arrogant you are and your devious plan. You came just to see the battle." What a low blow from David's brother. He didn't ask how he was doing. He wasn't grateful to see him. He wasn't thankful for the supplies that he had brought. David was there in the will of his father, but still felt offense. He was supposed to be on David's side. He was supposed to be a confidant and one to lift David up, not tear him down. But we learn a lesson here that sometimes the closest to us are often the ones that bring the most hateful and the most hurtful offense. I'm ashamed to say, but sometimes church people are the worst when it comes to dealing out hurt. Sometimes church people are the worst when it comes to dealing out offense. You hang around church very much, and I'm sorry to say, but someone's going to hurt your feelings. Somebody's not going to like your style of worship. Somebody's not going to think that you're good enough, and somebody's going to question your salvation. And in that moment, we can feel hurt by the ones who are supposed to love us the most. We can feel the most hurt from those who were supposed to push us to succeed. We can feel betrayed by the ones who were supposed to bless us. We can feel beat down by the ones who are supposed to be there to lift us up. We can feel criticized when we need encouragement. We can be made to feel inadequate when God says that we are His. And in that time, we can feel like it would be best to just throw it out. We can feel as though that it would be best to just leave the church, to just leave it all behind us, and to just go and do our own thing and to follow our own path. If you fall out with God because of people, you will never reach your potential. Just imagine if David would have fallen out with his brother. If he just would have thrown the supplies on the ground, hopped on his horse, and went back to his father's house. He never would have slayed Goliath. He never would have conquered that Philistine, and they would have lived their life stuck right there. Guys, people may not like your style of worship, but praise Him anyway. People may criticize your style of music, but sing it as unto the Lord. People can harass you and say that you've changed. They'll say hurtful things like you're not the person that you used to be. You're not the person that I once knew you as. But baby, let me tell you what, just like a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, when you meet God, you're supposed to change. There are supposed to be some things that are different about how you look, that are different about how you operate. As that caterpillar's stuck on the ground, that butterfly is getting air underneath its wings and climbing to new heights. Don't allow offense to stop you, but friend, grow through it. God has a plan for your life, and a plan that is so much bigger than the offense that you feel right now. When David was faced with the offense of his brother, he didn't ball up his fist and take him outside to fight. He didn't take matters into his own hands and fight for his own pride and his own dignity. But he simply just asks his brother. He says, "What did I do this time?" It was just a question. You see, David didn't swell up under the offense. He shook it off. When you feel offended, you can be totally justified in taking that offense into your own hands. You can lash out and you can reach and offend someone else, or you can shake it off. You say, "Pastor Neil, you just don't understand how bad it hurt." You say, "Pastor Neil, you just don't understand how bad it hurt." But let me tell you what, it's not worth becoming stuck over. In Romans, Paul writes that he says, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. If you will stay sweet, if you'll shake off that offense, if you'll get beyond it, you'll push through it and you'll grow because of it, God has a way of taking care of those who serve Him. The next time someone offends you, I dare you to forgive them and remember that God's got it. The next time that someone brings you pain, remember that God works all things together for our good and for His glory. You see, guys, the thing about offense is it is the one giant that we voluntarily allow in our life. It is the one thing that we subject ourselves to that will be our biggest hindrance and our biggest stopping point. Guys, offense is going to come, but it doesn't mean that it has to stop you. It doesn't. You see, guys, offense is going to come, but that does not mean that it has to stop you. This giant is no bigger than the God that we serve. I dare you, live by forgiveness. When someone offends you, forgive them. Life is too short to live with those offenses that just pile on our life. Guys, as always, we love you. We miss you. We're praying for you. We can't wait to see you again real soon. Or how you can be notified of things that come up on the calendar, please drop us a DM, drop us a comment below. Let us get your information, and we will make sure that you have that information. Guys, we love you. We miss you. We're praying for you. Love you. We miss you. We're praying for you. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And we'll see you next time.